Oh, we went and did it now. Wait till you see this.
The ugliest damn Jeep I have ever seen in my life.
That's the nicest Jeep you ever bought for 150 bucks.
Okay, true. It is the nicest Jeep I've ever
it's on
seen.
there perfect too, so it's gonna roll in.
For 150. Oh, jeez. She's dirty.
You know, rock and roll. Bahans, so you can soak up the bumps.
Oh my God.
It's gonna be bad. We gotta get her on the charger. But for the most part, it's nasty.
Yeah, it definitely
stinks in here. It's got a sunroof.
Clean.
It's got a 4.0.
Yeah.
And another big thing is, I want to hook my scanner up to this. None of these gauges come on. That's another strong indicator that it's a crank sensor. So I got to get a scanner on here. Hopefully that doesn't have power. And I'll go do some testing on some injectors and the crank, because I got fuel to the fuel rail, but I got no injector. Injectors aren't lighting up. So, you know, it's either security cutting off the injectors, or it's the crank
sensor.
Crank sensor.
Yeah.
Not letting the computer know that the motor's turning over. It lets the fuel pump know, but then it doesn't know the motor's turning over, so it doesn't turn the injectors on. In essence, that's kind of how that works. But, I mean, 150 bucks. What do you do?
I mean, you really can't.
This was a sticker.
Amen.
You can see.
It says Jesus happens.
It's from Progressive. So, just like Copart, when you buy from IAA, which IAA is a lot better than Copart. One, not as many people use it. Two, it's predominantly insurance companies. You're not dealing with these jerk-off dealers that are throwing in bad tranny cars. You know, you also got a bunch of people at Copart that'll buy them smashed, take all the broken parts off them, do a little bit to make them look better, run them back through and make $1,000. You know, they're still selling junk. So you got to be really careful there. Here, this is awesome. So, my dad actually has an account with IAA. I do not. He had work off yesterday, so he calls me up. He's like, hey, I'm on IAA right now. Jeep just popped up for 150 bucks. Buy it now. I'm like, yeah? What motor? 4.0. So, before I could even finish my next sentence, he's like, well, I just bought it. Let's go. I'm like, oh. All right. This thing is a progressive car. So that means it had full coverage on it. That means it ran. So something happened, and son of a... Something happened, and maybe it got hit, maybe the gas tank fell, maybe something, you know, you don't know. So, but I do know this motor's got 212,000 miles on it. It seems to look, it sounds good, no weird noises, it turns over good, sounds like it's got good compression. So, yeah, $150 IAA Jeep.
Totally worth it.
You never would have got this for $150 from Copart.
No way.
The YouTube Copart train has grown so much that there's millions of people shopping at Copart now. You can no longer get a deal there. I scroll through there and people are still buying from Copart. The only way you really get deals is if you're buying 2015 trucks, 16, 17s. Yeah. You're getting them for $8 grand, and you're fixing them, and you got a $40,000 truck. But with the group we're in, buying these things, everybody's buying them up because they think they're getting them cheap, but they're overbidding, and it's just not worth it. You can find a deal, but it's hard. Yeah. So
this was definitely the best deal we've ever had.
What do you think we got in tires here?
Easily.
Every one of them's got the same tread.
Yeah. I mean, they're brand new.
As soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, hell yeah. Check this out, though. These things, these valve stem caps, they're little pressure gauges. You push it down, and it tells you if you got enough air in your tire or not. It's got a green or a red. Wow, look at that. See, it's red.
That's so cool.
It pushes it up to where the green is.
Yeah.
It's a new pressure regulator.
Those weren't cheap.
No. But, I mean...
we scored, I think.
Let's get this door down, get this garage heated up, run some tests, and see what we got broken here.
You do that. I'm going to go clean the coronavirus out of my house.
Yeah? Alright, we got some heat going. Got a charger on it. We're going to start running a couple tests. First thing I want to do is get my scanner on there, see what that says. Maybe it'll tell me something. Most likely it probably won't. But I mean, motor looks good, guys. It's been tuned. Maybe tuned up at 131,000 in 07. I don't know. Never know. But yeah, here it is. What do you guys think? You think 150 bucks was a score? It was just under 300 out the door. So, you know, things like this though. This is kind of what I don't like about it. Like that, and you can't really see it in here, but just the rainbow all down these windows. Maybe it sat under a pine tree, or, you know, honestly I don't know, but to me, I like it. The actual date on this tire is 2019. So somebody put a brand new spare in here with a brand new tire in 2019. So maybe they bought this from a car lot. That's why they had full coverage on it. You know, dealership put that in there. There's no telling, really. But here's the damage. This is what put it into IAA. Literally not bad. You can see the door is out a little bit up here, but the way you solve that is you put a 2x4 in the bottom, shut the door and push the top in and bend that door back in. It'll close that seal up, be just fine. We'll see if it's that easy. As far as Jeeps go, it's a Jeep. Let's get our scanner. Let's go see what we can figure out. All right, operation error, check connections and try again. Now, like I said, I told you that we want this thing to not be able to scan it because A, that means it's the crank sensor, so now we can go up to the motor, run a couple tests of voltage, see what we got. I'm still not completely sure that the key, but for both, I have two keys. So for both keys to mysteriously stop reading, I think is, you know, that's pretty far-fetched. It's just like when your windows stop working and you think it's a window motor, but all four stop working at the same time. All right, so I've dug into this a little bit. This is a 5-volt system, so usually if your crank sensor's bad, you can come over here, pull this plug, test it for volts, and if it's under 5 volts, which I had 4.3, that usually tells you your crank sensor's bad. And then if this is reading 4.3, once you unplug the crank sensor, it'll come up to 5 volts. That means it's grounding out. So I did that, pulled this, had 4.3, pulled the crank sensor, tested it, had 5 volts, and then plugged the crank sensor back in just to test it, and I still had 5.6 volts. So it's like, well, maybe, you know, we played with that wire, crank sensor came back in, you know, it's working. So I went in the car, tried to start it. It actually started, but it was running really rough. So I want to run a couple more tests. I'm letting this battery charge up. Basically, crank sensor is down there, is that little plug down there, right there behind the dipstick. It's easy, you just unplug it and your system will come back up to 5 volts. If that grounds out, it changes your voltage. So can run a couple quick tests. I want to try to start this thing, see if we can't get it to run a little bit. Let's see what happens. All right, let's try this. Before we had absolutely nothing. It would just sit and crank all day long. Let's see what we got. Come on, girl. She's running rough, but she's running. So we're on the right track. That could be old nasty fuel in the lines. I don't know what it could be. I had no power to the injectors. When I plugged that crank sensor back in under there, I heard the injectors click. I heard things happen, and then it started. So I don't know if it's my cam position sensor now because it's running like it's off time and popping and, you know, wanting to die. All right, we got our big jump pack on there. Let's see what we can do. That's a really powerful jump pack, so it should turn it right over, hopefully. She's running rough. Try to get a code in this thing. Woo. All right, we definitely got something going on. She stinks, smoking and popping. Smells like old gas. I went ahead, went up to the store, bought a crank sensor. But wouldn't you know that because I'm doing this, it wouldn't just be a cut and dry crank sensor. You know what I mean? So I already told you that if you take this, you know, any of these sensors off, you can take the injector plug off and you can test it for voltage, and if you're anything under 4 or 5 volts, because it's a 5-volt system, then you know you can unplug the crank sensor, and if it goes back to 5 volts, then you know it's got a faulty crank sensor, which did happen. We had 4 point whatever. I unplugged it. We had 5 volts. I plugged it back in to reconfirm. Still had 5 volts. Then the Jeep started. But it runs very, very rough. So we positively know that crank sensor wasn't sending a signal. It wasn't starting and just turning over. So does that tell me to just change the crank sensor? But now that it seems like it's working, could it be the cam sensor that's making it run rough? I guess my only thought pattern is, or my way of thinking is, we had a problem with the crank sensor, let's change the crank sensor, go from there. You know what I mean? Something obviously happened that when we unplugged it and plugged it back in, it worked. Maybe the wires go behind the engine and when they rubbed and they're open, you know, maybe they're grounding out on the block, who knows, but that's the only thing I can think to do is just change crank sensor, see where we're at then, you know what I mean? Please in the comments, you know, teach me something. If you have dealt with this before, let me know, you know, save us all time. People are all here looking to fix cars and learn things, so I'm by no means a mechanic. I just, you know, do this for fun. So I guess let's get into this crank sensor. This is not a fun job. It's not bad, but it's not a fun one. That sensor's way up in there and it's not fun to get to. So I'm really probably not going to be able to film much of it, but basically we're going to unplug this plug. That wire goes back behind there, and then up in the top of the bell housing on this side of the motor there is a sensor that sticks inside of the bell housing, and it looks like this. So basically it sticks inside the bell housing, and when your flywheel turns it reads it. So they've got that stuff on there, so that's your gapping. Basically you set it in there, put your bolt in, that's your gap, then the flywheel grinds that stuff off or chafes it off, whatever, I guess. So yeah, it's just basically a magnet and it's reading the flywheel. So when the flywheel hits top dead center, it tells the cam sensor to do what it needs to do, to run the injectors, to run all the other stuff. So we will be reaching way up in there, trying to slide this thing in and getting the bolt on. I do know from watching, it's an 11mm bolt, gonna need a 3-foot or so extension with a swivel. So let's get all that set up and climb underneath this thing. I could probably break down and buy a 16-inch extension, but will I? Probably not. Let's go see what this looks like from underneath. So this is why you guys always see random cardboard in my garage, because laying in water is not fun. We need a pole barn, guys. Start sharing the videos so we can get some subscribers. It's way up there. I don't know if it's gonna focus. You see that wire coming off there? That's where we're going. So, unless you want to see me just reaching all the way up in there and nothing else, I'll get this out and show you what it looks like. We've gotten it out from way back there. That is quite the ordeal to get that out. Here's the one that was in it. It came out wet, dirty, but I did notice it's an aftermarket, so this has been changed already. So yeah, it's an aftermarket pin. So we're gonna throw this in. If it doesn't solve the problem, at least then we know. You know what I mean? Gladly pay the $30 to know for sure and stop chasing my tail. But I don't generally like just throwing parts at things, but I mean, the crank sensor wasn't working, then it was. So you gotta assume there's something wrong with it. We've gotten it back in to save you a lot of trouble and confusion. Take your air box out, get you at least 2.5, 3 feet of extension put together, 11mm socket. You can shoot it up in there. It's kind of a pain. This brake line you see running down here, I grabbed it with a crowbar and pried it over a little bit. It wouldn't come out of the hole. That thing's 3 inches long. So pried that out of the way. I had to pry it before I could get my socket on it. It was in the way. So I pried it, got my socket on it. The bolt, once you crack it, comes out with your hand. It's really easy. Stayed in the socket. Pull that down through, then you have to come up top here, grab this sensor, and it's not easy. Let's plug this thing in and see what it does. Watch, it'll do the same thing probably. Same thing. That definitely sounds like cam sensor. Let me get my scanner back on this thing and see what we got. So no faults detected. What I did is I pulled this coil pack, runs down the whole side of the engine right there. The plugs had a bunch of gunk on the ends of them, so I cleaned all those up. I took the plug out of cylinder 1 and I rotated the crank. Let me get this out of the way. And then I took my cam position sensor off right there, and sure enough, I'm at top dead center with my piston, my crank, and I made up this little tool right here. Basically, I don't know if you can see it, piece of wire. Now, when you're at top dead center, this is supposed to line up, which it does. I mean, it lines up beautifully. You can see it's in there, goes through the casing, goes through the sensor. So we didn't jump time anywhere. I mean, if we did jump time, the bottom pulley would be off, the piston would be off, you know. It's just a quick test. I wanted to make sure. I don't want to go buy another sensor if I don't need another sensor, you know. I've always been under the impression that they don't run if your cam position sensor's out. I've seen them misaligned before and it run really rough, but I've never really seen one run, and this thing is running rough. Thank God we don't have jump timing and need a motor or a timing chain done, so that's good. But bad news, still haven't got it running. So let me get this thing put back together, figure out what I need to do next. I have noticed, and I don't know how long these are supposed to hold fuel pressure, but it does build fuel pressure because while the key's on, you can push this and, you know, fuel will come out, but it doesn't hold it. Are these supposed to hold big fuel pressure when it's shut off? Maybe I've got an issue with the fuel line and the gas tank, because the gas tank dropped. So it might make sense to climb underneath there while I'm waiting for his Jeep to get back here. Inspect all the fuel lines, find the fuel pump, maybe tap it. Because when we got there, the fuel tank was hanging low. It looked like it had just happened. So we got it up level. Maybe the fact, you know, of when it fell, it jarred a line or did something. Who knows, but Jesus though. Can you believe these tires? Looks like Steele gets some new tires for his stock rims. He's got them new Michelins on it that we got off another car we bought. So we're gonna swap those onto these. And he gets some brand new Wranglers. Those would be good on his Jeep. All right, let's take a look at what we got. I jacked it up. I setting this up so I can get in here. Try to find this fuel filter. Oh, it's right there, right next to the frame. So I'm gonna start playing with that. I wanna take the line off the back side of it. I wanna turn the key, see what it squirts out. And then I wanna take the line off the front of it, see what it squirts out. Instead of wasting time, what we're gonna do is just throw this in. I saw a YouTube video, guy says, if it's not holding pressure, if it doesn't have pressure, this thing covers it. It's got a fuel pressure regulator in it, so it's 16 bucks. Doesn't look like that one's really been replaced in a while, so we're just gonna throw this thing in. Maybe that'll do it. All right, unfortunately, that's about all I can show you. We get these back lines off. We just dumped gas all over the camera. Found the problem. I just got a bottle, had him turn the key over. It shoots a spurt for about 2 seconds and then it starts dribbling out of there. So there's something inside here. Maybe once it starts flowing, it clogs the filter and sucks the dirt up or pushes the dirt or grime up against the screen or however it filters. But I do know that you turn the key forward, it runs or pumps for maybe a minute and then starts like barely drizzling out of there. So let me get this the rest of the way off, get our new one on, and hopefully we'll hear this thing run. Oh, it's easy getting 2 of the lines off. Why wouldn't they put those same 3 clips or same clips on all the lines? They didn't. They threw this clip on here and it goes all the way around and you have to push this inside of this line. Well, look at it. It's rusted and swollen up. You can't push that in there because once you push this in, it releases off this groove that's on here. And yeah, it's not wanting to come. So if you're doing this job, you probably will be fighting that one. It's not easy. All right, we got it back in. And of course, that really rusty line that was stuck, that we had to play with for about 30 minutes, has a hairline crack in it. Just like all this, it's flaky. And the more you play with it, the more flakes came off it. The Jeep starts now. It actually starts and runs pretty decent. But when I start it, it shoots fuel everywhere. And we've got a big old torch heater going over there. We don't want our fumes up too much. So it's getting late tonight. I'm gonna wait till tomorrow. We gotta drop this tank anyway. It's already, you can see it's rusted out and hanging there. So we can't leave it like that. I'm gonna drop the tank. We're gonna replace that one plastic line. And the Jeep will run. But other than that, I'd call it a good day. We did put 6 new plugs in it while I had the coil pack off. So those are in it. Yeah, we're getting there. Kind of sucks that that little plastic clip got us like that. But what do you do? It is what it is. Man, camera keeps on fogging up. Either way, it's getting late. We'll catch you guys tomorrow. It's next day. We made it to the junkyard. It was a blizzard about 5 minutes ago, but it's calming down. So what I found is a gas tank that's already got straps, so it should be easy to drop. This looks like a new fuel pump, so I already cut the line back here at, you know, the fuel pump, so the thing's still on there, so we can try to lube it and work it at home. But I still have to drop this tank so I can get it off the top of the tank. Just kind of learning how to do that right now because you can't drop it without dropping the tow package. So I think if I cut it right here, cut this right here, but I'm dripping gas, so I don't really want to start a freaking fire. Decisions. But this one's got a 2-inch lift on it. It's got a puck there, Pro Comp shocks. It's got bigger pucks up front. So this would be the one to take a lift from. Everything's freaking there. You get 4 shocks, 4 pucks, and you'd have a lift for your Grand Cherokee. I am going to take these black straps because, well, I'm not planning on putting a skid on that Jeep. I'm just gonna sell it. You know what I mean? It's a $150 auction Jeep. We just want to get it running and run it down the road. It was something my dad wanted to buy, so we did it. We get these straps. Let me figure out how to get this tank dropped or what I gotta do. It's kind of nasty out, so I can't really hold the camera and do it. Sure is a beautiful day to come to the junkyard and try to drop a gas tank on a Grand Cherokee. Luckily, we found one. The straps were already, well, the whole skid was already off and it was just held up by straps. So I went the easy route and grabbed it. It still sucked. It's not easy out here. Wow, I think that thing fell off. That's dangerous as hell. It did fall off its things. That's why you sign the waiver to get in here. So if that happens to you, they're not liable for insurance. The car falls off the wheels.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Ooh.
That sucked, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Not a good way to die. There we go. Nice. Old Tundra. Did you find it?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Maybe your headlights are a little different?
But I mean, it's got these in there. I don't.
Is it broke though?
Not really.
Well, you can still screw it up from the bottom and
You hit some.
put
flares.
new dealios in there. We could pop those out.
I got some.
Nice.
I bought some.
Alright, well here's Timbo's truck. White.
Oh yeah. Oh, the door handle. I got them coming.
It's gone.
Gone.
T-case is out. Windows out. She's white though.
No tailgate?
No tailgate unless it's on the ground. I looked around a little bit. Look at these.
This will be first.
Damn. Front bumper in there. I ain't never seen a Ford that had all 4 good tires. They all got bad alignments. It's all cracked up, but man, there's over a 1/4 inch tread on that if you found 2 good ones out of the bunch. That one's not all cracked up. Shoot. See, I can't come here. I want to buy everything. I think I find good tires. Holy cow. Look at that thing. Whoa, I'd say frame damage. Holy cow. That felt good. His seat lifted right up. It probably catapulted him right into the frickin' roof. Ow. Yeah, it lifted the seat right up. Jeez, oh Pete. Yeah, I'd say he hit something good. No more Tundras?
No, it's the only one in Michigan.
Of course.
No more Tundras.
Of course.
I don't think. Oh, see if it's got a radio. I know it's a 30.
Oh yeah, let's go check it
I
out
don't really need it,
while we're here. Yeah, knowing these guys, they up their price for radios. No, I don't see it. It's got wood grain though, if you want to do an interior swap. Man, rust-free doors though. All right, we got everything we need. I'm gonna head back, try to get this Jeep started for you guys and drive it. I'm hopeful. We'll see what happens. You don't see many of them Lincoln Navigators anymore. Except in here. Holy shit, they're everywhere. Damn, look at them headlights. It's a new van right there. Yeah. Alright guys, see you back at the house. Alright, just got back from the junkyard. We found our line, but it was pretty nasty. So I'm soaking it in tranny fluid and brake fluid concoction. you can see that little black thing, that's got to push inside there to release it. And those don't work too well when that thing's all rusted up and swollen. So we're going to let that sit in there for a couple hours. Just notice I have an hour and a half footage on this video, so we're going to end it here. If you want to see this thing run, you're going to have to come back, check it out. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button. $150 Jeep. See what it's going to do. Next video, we're going to get this thing running. We already started it, so we know it runs. We're going to steal all the tires off this thing. I'm taking all these brand new tires, and we're going to put them on Steele's Jeep. Awesome way to get free tires right there. Yeah, we're going to clean it up, and it is what it is. So I appreciate you watching. Thanks for all the support. What's up to all the new subscribers? If you'd like to support our channel or support anything we do, head on over to our merch shop at KB Motors LLC. We've got some sweet decals, and if you have an idea of a sweet decal, come on over to Instagram, type in KB Motors channel, no spaces. We can talk there, go over images. I can design anything you need, and we can cut it out. Anything vinyl decal related, can do it. You want to pre-order shirts, head on over there, start talking to me. We can use PayPal. You can, send money. I can make you a shirt and send it right out that day. So, that's an option. Yeah, and just remember to subscribe, guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your support. This one's been an adventure. It's almost really fun to buy something that doesn't run, to get it home and see if you can get it running. I mean, it's been an adventure. So, I thank you guys for watching. Peace.